Hello, an emergency video today to talk about new releases, the most intriguing products that have been announced or leaked. I'd like to start with Tom Ford, that palette with green. Yeah, I think I talked about in my previous video about new releases, but I'd like to touch a few points here. That palette is in the same vein of the Chanel Rivage, in the sense that it has neutral tones plus a pop of color. And that pop of color is indeed very elegant. It's a black and green. However, it's less unique compared to the Chanel Blue in the Rivage quad, because we have seen already those black and greens, right? The comparison that for me is the most appropriate is with the Lancôme palette, the one dedicated to the Louvre. That one has a black and green, as well as other light shimmers that are all the same. The Tom Ford palette provides more variety because it has a brown also. For me, it's a no for two reasons. One is the price. I cannot relate even the allure of the name with the quality. This palette has a standard formula, so it is not particularly innovative. The color scheme is also nothing unique, but I liked very much the look that I've seen on Jennifer during her video dedicated to the Tom Ford palette. So I tried to reproduce that with my Soleil Lune, and I came to the conclusion that I need to declutter also that Soleil Lune, so you will find it on my Vinted. I always leave my Vinted link down below in the description box. You can have a look. Every now and then I put things that I realize I need to declutter because I don't use them. I have an extensive collection and only one face, So I try to replicate the look by Jennifer with my Soleil Lune, and Soleil Lune is too frosty in my opinion. It has the same disadvantages of Tom Ford Nude Dip that I also decluttered for the same reason. I prefer more muted finishes that are not so bright and metallic. So I think the closest to this quad by Tom Ford in finish is still the Lancôme one. That one was a limited edition, and I didn't feel when it was released, I think before holidays last year, I didn't feel the need to buy it. Also for this quad by Tom Ford, I think I can reproduce the look without effort using what I have. I don't think it's so remarkable of a palette to be purchased. And the same is true for the rest of the collection. Let's go to the Rare Beauty release. That is also a release that is already available for purchase. Well, I'm intrigued because I don't see glitters in these blushes, but there are luminous blushes that have a sheen. I was able to resist to the highlighters by Rare Beauty that I know they're stunning as well. But these blushes, yeah, they are intriguing, but I own Fantasy de Chanel. That is a luminous blush that was released for spring 2023, so last year. I spent a lot for that blush because I imported it from UK because it was sold out already here. And then I made a clutter that one as well because it's too luminous. I like the tone, but I don't like the finish. It's a bit glittery. And I think Sophia Sees Beauty did a comparison with the Fantasy de Chanel. I know that Rare Beauty has less glitters, so it's more of a sheen. But at the same time, I don't like that type of finish on my cheeks for this reason. If it is a blush, I want to see color. And most of these colors here are shimmer heavy, so they will look lighter because of the sheen. And so you will tend to pile up those blushes and you will end up with all your pores emphasized. That is the truth. So either you have a perfect skin or you are like me and you avoid that type of finish. I'm intrigued by Happy. It is the coolest pink. I would avoid, to be honest, lighter shades, because those shades are just shimmer, like colored highlighters. Happy is my favorite, but it's very close to the Chanel one. So maybe I will put on my wish list if it is still there during Black Friday with a heavy discount, then I may consider it. That is my strategy with Rare Beauty. So it's put on hold. It's beautiful, but I know it's not my type of makeup, and for that reason I don't need to rush and buy it. Then there are the Armani bronzers. I think also those are available for purchase. My perspective about those bronzers is that they are standard. So if you have tried the new Armani blushes and you love it, then I think that the bronzers will be the same. Also, again, bronzers tend to be very yellow, very orange. From what I've seen, they're not as warm as the Yves Saint Laurent ones. Those Yves Saint Laurent, I wish they had a more grayish tone. I would have liked a more desaturated value and maybe a reddish shade in a fair intensity. But they haven't. So I will wait for further shades because I think that the best formula is the one by Yves Saint Laurent. That is the best release, the best bronzer release of this year. And for the Armani bronzers, yeah, I think they will be fine, but I don't see a uniqueness. Unless you really love the blushes and you find the formula exceptional. It's not my case, and so I will skip them. So NATASHA DENONA has just revealed High-Gen Skincare Infused Glow Beautifier, a set of 4 highlighters. Those are highlighters, simple highlighters, but they have storytelling around it. If you focus on the model, you just look at the model, I see greasy skin. That can look very nice on a 20 years old model or even less. But on me, that sounds heavy. No, it's not my type of look. I tried in the past, like 10 years ago. In 2016, it was a thing. We all use beamy highlighters, right? And also the glass skin. I think the trend has declined and now is more on the velvety type of skin. I'm more into the Yves Saint Laurent trend. Healthy, not dry, but not greasy skin. So I'm more into velvety trend more than the glass skin that is outdated, in my opinion. NATASHA DENONA is the queen of glow, but I don't like it. 2 more releases quickly before going to my favorite one. One is Dior. The Summer 2024 collection by Dior is Baked Gelée. So not the new reformulated Dior. Since it's Baked Gelée, I'm intrigued by the palette with the purple. It's a very smoothing and glowy one. It's perfect for summer, in my opinion. I see the lavender being so light and very shimmery. And that means that you will see just the shimmer on your eyes with the hint of lavender. I would have liked more presence of that lavender. And the other colors are just light. Even the middle green, it will turn out white. It's too light. It reminds me of a very subtle quad from Suqqu. I think it was 1 or 2, was from the previous series. I purchased it and decluttered it because it was too much of the same thing. It seemed just 1 hint of shimmer, very delicate and pretty. Yeah, a lot of effort for minimal result. And I'm more into this type of look right now rather than years ago. But at the same time, I think I can dupe this. Moreover, there's the blush. It's a lavender pink and it's very brightening. I like this. It doesn't have the drawback of the Suqqu lavender blush from the Melting Blush series. It was a bluish gray, but this is more pink, so I think it's more wearable over lavender. That blush alone can satisfy my lavender desire. And I can use on my eyes and have a less shimmery effect compared to the quad that is very subtle. And nail polishes are lovely, delicate. Great idea by Dior. Nothing revolutionary, but very well executed, in my opinion. The Suqqu summer collection is nice, and I'm intrigued by the cool toned palette, although there's something we have already seen. I don't remember the palette close to this one, but it is one that I missed. I remember that olivey taupe paired with, again, a lavender. I confess that I'm quite intrigued by this palette as well. That olivey taupe-ish color, it may be a bit powdery. That is the feeling I have. And I don't like the bottom two shades. I like the top two. These are all releases that, unfortunately, I like so much because I like those pastel tones, very luminous makeup, especially on the eyes. I plan to organize my collection because before purchasing, it's better to organize my collection and see whether I have gems that I'm not remembering right now that can dupe very well these things. But all of these releases, Dior and Suqqu, are very beautiful and totally in my style. Let's focus on the Byredo one. This is another gem. I loved it, but I would like to analyze it. Between this one and Suqqu, maybe this one is better, although is more desaturated. There are a lot of repetitive shades. That's the problem. See the olives. We have 3 olives in the first row. They are very shimmery, and so once applied, I think they will show up as a single color. However, I cannot have enough olives. That is a very wearable way of pulling off green. The other defect that I see in this palette is that it lacks deep shades. It's more of a muted rainbow. It reminds rocks and minerals, and for that is quite fascinating. The deepening shades are only the 2 blues. One in the first column that is cooler, while the other one is more greenish, is more teal. But those are the deepest colors in the palette, and are very similar anyway. I don't know, I could have done without the teal, to be honest. Also, there are 2 light shimmery champagne pinks. Yeah, again, look very similar. We have 2 yellows, one more peachy yellow that is in the first column, and the other yellow at the top right corner that is more canary yellow. And then there's an orange that I could have done without, also because they have released palettes in the past that were monochromatic, like the one last year. So still there are these orangey tones. And also the one at the bottom right seems quite close. And then we have some lavenders, but more desaturated. In my opinion, they can look a bit muddy and gray on the eyes, at least on my skin tone that is quite cool toned. I need more saturation for the cool tone to pop up on my skin. Otherwise, it will be a blend with my skin tone. So I'm not convinced by this palette. I have Metal Boost in the Snow with a olive plus blue color story, and a lot of repetition here. It could have been condensed in a 9 pan, in my opinion. So yeah, it is not perfect. Do you remember the first one when Isameya was still the creative director? That one was very nice of a palette, full of saturated colors, and this is the muted version. But sometimes when a palette is already muted, then you cannot really mix up the shades, otherwise you will end up in a muddy mess. And that is the risk of this palette. Taking into account all these considerations, I need to see in person if there's enough contrast. I have a quad by Clé de Peau that can fulfill my desire of olives with very similar shades in a great formulation. So I may be strong. What do you think about it? Are you waiting like me? Let's chat together in the comments, let me know. So see you in the comment section. Bye!